On September 5th, Cronos The New Dawn was released, developed by Bloober team who previously developed Layers of Fear, Blair Witch, timed exclusive The Medium, and most recently Silent Hill 2 Remake. In this video I'm gonna compare it to Dead Space and Callisto Protocol. Those two in my opinion are most similar to Cronos. I was also considering Resident Evil as well, but it just didn't fit the feel of those three. With that out of the way, let's start. This is a part of a game that is most subjective, so keep in mind it's just my opinion. In Cronos The New Dawn, you get control of a traveler, being that was created by an organization known as Collective, to serve in a mission known as Vocation. Traveler must survive the dangers of post-apocalyptic world, to find points that allow them to travel back in time to extract selected people who did not survive the change, process of humans turning into monsters. Game takes on a psychological horror story that in my opinion is really well presented, although it requires you to pay close attention, otherwise I can see why some complain about story being confusing and badly written. In conclusion to its story, I would say it delivers on its premise, although at times it does seem confusing, but that is always the case with time traveling stories. Now let's take a look at its competition.
All day. I was watching that. It's our last run, Max.
In terms of story itself, Callisto Protocol follows Jacob as he crash lands on Callisto Moon, where the prison is located. Story follows him as he tries to escape said prison, until he meets Danny. Together they try to uncover mystery about the outbreak that happened in prison. Relationship between both of them is great, and I really wanted to see more. From hate to distrust to them working together, it was really well done. Overall, the plot is not unique, but honestly it doesn't need to be. Yes, there is a lot of similarity to Dead Space games, but I think there is enough to separate these two games. Story DLC was released that follows aftermath of the main game, but I would say it was a waste of time regarding story itself.
And how is it connected to Europa?
This is supposed to be just another fucking job.
I think it's me. I wish I could talk to you. I'm sorry.
Dead Space follows Isaac Clarke, an engineer who's part of the crew sent on a mission to investigate the distress signal of USG Mishimura, a mining spaceship overrun by necromorphs. As Isaac goes through the ship, he discovers how it all went down. He learns about Marker and what happened to his girlfriend Nicole, who was medical officer on USG Mishimura. The plot itself is very intriguing. It's simple but very effective.
Malfunction?
No. The quarantine systems are all fine.
So with that said, story is toss-up between Dead Space and Cronos The New Dawn. And on that note, I think Dead Space prevails in this. It's so simple, but so effective, especially if you are unaware of the twist at the end. And let's be honest, Isaac Clarke is way more interesting character than Traveler is. But that is by design. Traveler is meant to be mysterious character, and as you play through the game you found out why. Still, Dead Space offers a more interesting story and world building. Callisto Protocol has so much potential, with its characters, which are great, if you only had better plot.
What the fuck are you looking at?
Let's talk about gameplay in Cronos The New Dawn. This game does not have difficulty setting. Personally, I don't know how I feel about it. At the beginning you are taught to charge your shots and try to get headshots, or you will have a tough time. Resources such as ammo for your weapons are rare, and you better be careful how you use them, because it can happen that you are left with no ammo. You can also use melee or stomp, but it's useless unless you stun enemy by setting them on fire, or you can stop them from merging, because once they go for their fallen enemy to merge, they are defenseless, and one hit can stop them from merging, at least for a while. You can also stomp your enemies that are lying down, but don't expect high damage from it. Overall, in terms of difficulty, as you go through the game you get stronger, and as such game gets easier, so if you are worried that it's too difficult, try to get few upgrades for your weapons and suit, and trust me, game gets way more fun later on. There are quite few weapons to choose, such as handgun that you get from the beginning, shotgun, carbine 3-round burst weapon that is also a assault rifle if you charge its shot, and launcher that acts like BFG in Doom games. Some of them require few upgrades to be viable in combat, so keep that in mind. Also very important are fire grenades. You will use them to stun enemies or destroy fallen ones to stop merging. By collecting energy you get to upgrade weapons, and I would suggest you go for damage, charge speed and clip size for the sword. Handgun in this game. I found it to be most useful as ammo crafting is also cheaper than rest in terms of resources. For the suit upgrades you need to collect cores. Inventory size is by far most important. Trust me, this is what you need to focus primarily, followed by resource limit. Used for crafting ammo or health packs. Or suit integrity determines your HP. Essences are buffs you get to collect. They offer like more damage with headshots or stronger melee. There are few of them. Some are optional and some you collect by going through story. But only 3 can be equipped, and if they are replaced they get lost. So choosing which one to keep is important. Enemy variety is decent, not the best, but honestly, for me there was no need for more. Golden rule of going for headshots sometimes isn't viable, cause some enemies after merging become bulletproof, and at that point you'll need to find their weak spot to take them down. Boss fights are where this game is at its weakest. Since you are slow and can't dodge, it boils down to you running in circles, and once you are far enough you shoot few times and repeat until boss is killed. There are 2 bosses that mix this up. If you play the game you'll know which ones. Traveler is very slow. You feel the weight of her. It contributes to tense and nerve-wracking situations, but I admit, especially during boss fights, it can be somewhat of a nuisance. Now let's compare it to Callisto Protocol. Enemy variety is okay, but there are few enemies that are annoying. Boss fights are in similar situation to Cronos, probably worst part of it, although I like them slightly more only due to faster movement. Callisto's main source of combat is melee. Personally, I liked how it felt, even though many criticized how dodging was handled, by just moving right stick left and right depending on enemy attack. As you progress through the game, you get more weapons, such as handgun, shotgun, assault rifle and so on. GRP can be used to kill enemies instantly, by pulling then pushing them into environment hazards. Callisto credits that you collect through the game are used for upgrading your weapons and ammo crafting. Inventory management was not an issue like it was in Cronos. Resources are plentiful throughout the game. Considering you have melee weapon, you are never defenseless, even if somehow you are out of ammo. Movement of main character Jacob is very fluid. Animation of the movement is absolutely gorgeous, on par with Last of Us. That says a lot. Level design here is similar in terms of structure to Cronos New Dawn, but not as interesting. Environment is somewhat lacking. Dead Space has the best variety of enemies. In terms of combat, it's somewhere in the middle of Callisto and Cronos. You don't want your enemies to get close to you, just like in Cronos, but if they do, melee is decent, as well as kinesis module that comes handy as you basically keep enemies frozen in space for a few seconds. For the weapons, there's iconic and by far my favorite plasma cutter alongside contact beam, pulse rifle, cutter line, gravitation accelerator and javelin gun. Decent roles, and considering all of them are unique with alternative mode as well. Power nodes are used for upgrading weapons and suit, which as you get through the game visually changes. Inventory management is similar to other two, but I found it to be more important than it was in Callisto, but nowhere near Cronos. Movement of Isaac Clarke is faster than of Traveler in Cronos, but slower than Jacob in Callisto. Level design is great. It's one big open level, where depending where you are in the story you can go wherever you want. With that being said, I like Dead Space gameplay better than Cronos. Callisto was also good, I liked it more than I expected to. Game length was also similar. For Cronos New Dawn it took me 13.5 hours to complete, for Callisto Protocol it took me about 11 hours, and for Dead Space little over 12 hours. Overall decent length on these games. Cronos The New Dawn is developed in Unreal Engine 5. I played on PS5 on 30 FPS quality mode, and there was no stutter or frame drops. The reason I chose this option was because game is slow and doesn't require fast reactions, and considering it was stable, you really couldn't tell it was 30 FPS. Unless you change it to performance and back again, then perhaps you could see the difference. Graphically, game looks great. Environment and main character fit a game from 2025. Perhaps some enemies are somewhat lacking in visual department, but atmosphere is where this game delivers. Environment is unsettling and tense. I would dare to say at point it passes even Dead Space itself. Callisto Protocol is developed on Unreal Engine 4 and really uses it to full potential. I played it on performance mode with 60 FPS. There are a few stutters and frame drops, but nothing significant. The reason I didn't play it on quality mode is due to game's inability to hold 30 FPS, plus combat itself is fast. Faces of characters are top notch, one of the best. Atmosphere is hit and miss. Some places are great, but game doesn't hold on to it, and it results in far less scary game compared to the rest, although I didn't mind. Dead Space is developed on Frostbite engine, and it looks great. Not as good as in Callisto, but good nonetheless. I played both on quality and performance mode, and I would recommend playing it on performance because it makes combat way easier, while not compromising that much. However, if you like ray tracing and higher resolution, playing on quality mode is also good, considering its stable 30 FPS. Atmosphere is dark and tense throughout. It's a reason Dead Space is still talked about till this day. It's truly fantastic. Graphically, Callisto Protocol is best looking, while not atmospheric as other two. It truly delivers in visual department. Cronos New Dawn and Dead Space are neck and neck in terms of graphics. I would say Dead Space necromorphs are better looking graphically than monsters in Cronos, but other than that, I couldn't really separate them. Atmosphere is great in both. All three of these are good games. Even Callisto Protocol gives you 10 to 12 hour story, that while it's not that scary, it doesn't entertain you throughout its runtime. Characters are great, with amazing animations that I can't praise enough.
How do I know I can trust you?
Dead Space is a great game, like it was in 2008 when initially released and now in this remake. It's just a shame EA decided it didn't sell well for Dead Space 2 remake, which would have been awesome to see. This remake is one of the best remakes in line with Resident Evil 2 and 4.
Jen, what's our damage?
Comms are down. We lost a port booster. We got a fire in one of the stabilizers and... Singularity core's a mess. Could be worse.
Cronos The New Dawn is new entry in survival horror genre, and it really does live up to it. There's a lot of talk about this game being a copy of Dead Space, but I just don't see it. It plays totally different, premise is miles away from Dead Space, only thing they share is awesome atmosphere, and same genre. Let's hope we get sequel.